work's in the cabinet's hands. They said they'll call for us once they've gotten to properly review it.
Okay.
But listen, I know I should have been more forthcoming about who I was earlier. So, in the interest of full disclosure, there's one more thing you ought to know before we head up there.
Okay.
My relationship with the UC. It's more complicated than it might seem at first glance. The UC's actually the only reason I'm here in the first place. I am a clone.
Okay.
Of a man named Francois Sanon, one-time fleet admiral of the UC during the Colony War, former head of the UC Navy. They called him Ve Victus, woe to the defeated, in Old Earth Latin, a title he earned.
Ja,
The program
ich erinnere mich
I was
daran.
part of
Das haben wir gehört.
the
Gestern.
UC's attempt to create a new generation of military minds from one of their most respected tacticians. Secure the leadership of the UC military for generations to come.
Warte, ne? Mann, wie geht das
A
bitte?
non-trivial amount of gene editing. Clone, honestly, isn't even really the right term for our relationship, thanks to the amount of donor material that was required to bring me into this world. He and I are different on more than a few.
Deswegen war wahrscheinlich auch so viel geschwärzt zu ihr, weil diese ganzen
No
Daten,
denying the fact we're inextricably linked.
weil diese ganzen Daten zu ihrem Klonprozess halt geheim sind, weil es halt keiner wissen darf wahrscheinlich, ne? Deswegen war so viel geschwärzt über sie. Das würde Sinn ergeben. Dann aus dem Programm, an der
I'm the
Klone.
last. A few of my siblings, they passed when we were young. Training accidents and the like.
Okay.
But most of the rest were deployed to the front lines during the Colony War, and they never came back. Not a day goes by where I don't think about what the world would look like with them still in it. He would have happily told you he was one of the greats. Ultimately, though, it didn't matter.
Ja, wird zu
The man I
Totschlag
was
verurteilt.
cloned from, my father, was executed for acts he committed during the war.
Haben wir gehört.
The man caused a lot of death on both sides. Freestar Collective and UC. Military and civilians. And the things he did, well, they're a part of the reason the UC and Freestar Collective aren't really on great terms to this day.
Mhm.
So my involvement, it could be another obstacle they throw at us up there. I just wanted you to be forewarned.
Ja. Ja, klar, du meinst, Kabinett ist nicht so wichtig, das ist kein Problem.
I really appreciate you saying that. I just thought you deserved to know, considering how much you've done already.
Ja, ich habe also sich so ein Klon von ihm und trotzdem ist er hinterher.
Was there anything else we needed to discuss? I know you got dropped into the middle of this pretty fast. Or if you've got any last-minute business to attend to, now might be a good time. No telling how long the cabinet's gonna keep us waiting out here.
Bis ich sage, bis ich sage, dass ich von jemandem habe. Dann wird das dann bitte sagen, jo, wir können jetzt rein. Das könnte stimmen, wenn ich nicht das was will. Das stimmt, zum Beispiel passieren wir mit der.
Eye strain from the amount of reading I've got on the horizon if we succeed. The Terrormorph project never went anywhere. It couldn't. They're deadly creatures, but they aren't xenoweapons. The cabinet not opening the archives is probably a bigger risk than them handing over the files. That data itself isn't dangerous, which probably wouldn't be a bad point for us to bring up, should the opportunity arise. Well, thinking about it more, I suspect there'd be value in sharing the fact that the Terrormorph project was, well, a failure. There's no need to be afraid of this data being weaponized. Knowing that should calm some of the cabinet's fears and make it easier for us to dispel any suspicions the other factions might have about our intentions. I mean, we never spent a lot of time together. He was too busy being fleet admiral to deal with kids. I was raised by a pair of guardians instead. Until his defeat during the Colony War, though, he was known as an extremely effective commander. Savvy, perceptive.
Mhm.
That mind opened a lot of doors for him. And for me, too. But Victus, for all his ability, was heartless. Ruthless to a fault. In the end, that's what cost him his life.
Okay. Dann haben wir uns zurück. Das ist ein Klo.
That's actually a souvenir from my time on Mars.
Mhm.
The Red Devils unit I was a part of, they were founded by recruits who'd worked some of Mars' deepest mines. Folks used to adversity. The dust at those depths, it seeps into everything. The human eye included. Where the name Red Devils came from in the first place. It
Okay.
became an unwritten rite of passage that anyone wanting to enlist with the Devils had to do a stint in the mines before they could join up. The Devils were always talked about in such revered tones during my training, so as soon as I was old enough, I signed up. And the eyes were my parting gift.
Ja, dann habe ich keine Fragen.
Then I guess it's just a matter of...
Ja, war klar. Hallo.
You must be the captain Hadrian mentioned in her report. You have our thanks for the risks you faced in securing this information.
Ja, ich möchte sie wohl hinterhergegangen werden muss.
Oh, I'm sure she did.
Yes, well, precisely how urgent is what I hope we'll determine here today.
Mhm.
So now, we have two petitioners here making a surprising request. Access to the UC Xeno Warfare Team's Terrormorph data, currently housed in the Armistice archives. A request which will require not just this body's agreement, but that of all three Armistice signatories.
Mhm.
UC, Freestar Collective, and House Varun. Now, Captain, we've all read Hadrian's report on the subject, but we have yet to hear from you. Perhaps you could summarize for the Cabinet what it is you see as the goal of this endeavor.
Ja, natürlich, wir wissen noch nicht, wer den Plan verlegt wird. Ja, es ist ein Achievement, eine potenzielle Terrormorph-Apokalypse zu verhindern. Genau.
That's quite the leap, Captain. Madam President, I object to the very premise of this meeting. While no one would argue that what happened on Tau Ceti was anything less than a tragedy, Terrormorph attacks are not some sudden new threat on the horizon.
Aber so früh.
They've been happening for generations. To demand we hand over banned archival knowledge and possibly upset the balance of galactic diplomacy because of a single attack seems at best panic. And at worst, a power grab by the daughter of a bloodthirsty warmonger and her associates.
I would remind the chief diplomat who he's speaking to. If it's my father you're looking to address, you're welcome to consult a medium. I would also ask, how many deaths the Cabinet requires to act? 50? 50,000? Because if tragedies like Tau Ceti are just prelude to more attacks, I have no doubt you'll get the body count you require.
Let's keep this civil, shall we? And while there should be no doubt the preservation of life stands paramount among this body's duties, Chief Yassine has a point. Will a single attack, however troubling, be sufficient to convince the other factions to grant us access to what they no doubt consider weapon data? I don't think it's enough. Perhaps you can help, Captain. As the one who actually collected the sample in question, did this Terrormorph seem at all alarming to you?
Ja, nicht so ein Signalsfeld. Ich weiß nicht, was in der Gruppe entspricht, dem was wir gehen.
Just taking her word for it as well, then.
So it would seem. So then, Captain, given the discussion now and the information you've been privy to thus far, if you were in our position, would you grant the request made to open the archives?
Die geringste Chance auf ein zweites Finale bitte. Denkt das Terrormorph-Projekt war ein Fehlschlag.
It doesn't matter if it can be weaponized or not. The archives need to remain sealed for now. There's no reason to rush into a decision of this magnitude.
Willst du mir jetzt in den Rücken fallen?
I hadn't thought of that, Captain.
An excellent point indeed. The other powers would likely be much more inclined to work with us knowing that. Chief Diplomat.
Willst du mir jetzt in den Rücken fallen?
That point is a good one. Very
Ja,
well.
es scheint funktioniert zu haben, auch wenn es ja mal mir irgendwie in den Rücken fällt, weil ihr das nicht gefällt.
Here today, Captain.
You and I are in agreement, Chief Diplomat. So, if there are no other objections, I believe we can agree to give our full backing to make the request to... What was that?
Oh.
Attention. An incident has occurred. Facility lockdown engaged.
Incident. Chief Sarkin, what's happening?
There's been an attack at the spaceport. Terrormorphs.
Jo,
Terrormorphs. More attacks.
da haben wir die Meerangriffe, die sie haben wollte. Ja,
Good God.
Damn it. They're here. Now.
ja. Selber.
There must be another explanation. The creatures evaded our scanner somehow.
There will be plenty of time for conjecture later. Chief Sarkin, order the evacuation of the spaceport and have your men contain the things, but do it discreetly. The last thing we need is a citywide panic.
Yes, ma'am.
Admiral Logan, the local barracks can provide support?
I'll make the order myself. Nearest anti-Xeno squad, though, is off-world. Going to take a while to bring them in.
Well then, we'll have to make do with the tools we've got. You two, we can't risk those things getting out of the spaceport. I want you both on the next train there. We'll let them know you're coming and that you've dealt with these things before. Now go show them how it's done.
We're on it, ma'am. Captain, I'm right behind you. Let's get down there.
The EM rifle, grab it! Now!
That's it. Now hit him with everything you've got.
We're trying to help you!
Please! I can't stop!
What are you doing? EM fire, Captain.
Cowards.
Ja, jetzt. Ganz schnell verwendet. Okay.
What a drill that's that?
Lights out.
Hey,
Thank God you got here when you did. I just wish it hadn't come to that.
What the hell happened back there, Captain? There's no excuse for using lethal force here. Sorry doesn't bring these people back. A crisis isn't licensed to cast aside
sorry,
the
dass ich aus Versehen die falsche Waffe genommen habe.
Now, officer, the way those people were acting, I've seen this before. They were under the Terrormorph's influence, weren't they?
Mhm.
I don't know. They were down at the port and they just started screaming. We tried to restrain them, get them on the train to get them out of harm's way, but some of the other officers down there, we couldn't restrain them fast enough. They just started firing on us. People we knew. They went berserk.
Pheromonic projection. Some Terrormorphs, they can induce this fog. It affects everyone differently, but some people just lose control. Turn against everyone around them, even if they don't want to. They're like a puppet. You kill the morph, you break the hold. But this means we're gonna need to be real careful with our fire. And keep that EM weapon at the ready.
Mhm. Und jetzt müssen wir uns ins Zeug legen.
Nat's unlocked. Please, do what you can to help them.
Don't just stand there! Good! Get down on my head!
Ja, kannst du mal bitte dein Maul halten? Ich versuche mir gerade, indem ich Terrormorph zu töten. Ja, wer lacht, aber bitteschön, jetzt gut. See how many idiots.
Wait.
Hey!
Are you and this woman experts? Take whatever we can get right now. We've got the remaining creatures locked down on the landing pad, but we're barely holding our perimeter. They said you've done this before. Well, one fire team to spare and whatever supplies you need, but
Jetzt sind es zwei Sachen noch. Du lässt mich zu viel Strom!
can't risk them taking over any more, my men. Put those things down and do it fast. We'll hold them as best we can.
Yep. Hey.
Heard you might be looking for some backup. You say the word, we're out there on your 6.
You two have any experience with Terrormorphs before?
Only the brief they just gave on the way here. But we know how to handle pressure.
Surviving a full-on mental assault isn't the same as keeping your cool in a firefight. Might make you more liability than asset.
We're not UC security. You don't need to worry about us.
Roger
that. We're on you.
Hallo. Ja, die Hilfe. Auch ein bisschen Vanille in der Fresse. Diese Dinge lachen einfach. Ja, das ist bedeutet, wir gewinnen alle so. Dann wäre ich mit psychisch schon mal dekoriert, aber das mit davon gar nicht ablenken. Sondern, komm. Haben wir noch mal gecheckt. Aber wie jetzt haben wir uns noch Hilfe. Ja, bitte schön.
Target down. Nice work, Captain.
Thank God. If these things reached the populated areas of the city, we would have had an absolute massacre on our hands.
Deswegen habe ich es ja verhindert. Wenn die uns jetzt nicht zustimmen, dass wir die nicht analysieren dürfen, die Daten, dann weiß ich auch nicht. Genau das, was ich vorausgesagt habe, dass es immer mehr werden, ne? Ist jetzt genau passiert. Das war auch das beste Beispiel. So, Charge und ich habe mich drum gekümmert.
Yes, they weren't kidding about you two. The universe put the right people in the right place.
Mhm. Ja, ihr seid hierhin nicht mehr.
Certainly doesn't feel like it.
Ja, Bescheid.
I don't want to think what would have happened if you two hadn't been here.
Mhm.
Just glad we could rise to the occasion. Captain, we should report back to the President. Let her know the Terrormorphs have been dealt with.
Mhm.
Take care of yourself, Sergeant.
That's a relief to hear. Thank you, gentlemen. Let your people all know how much we owe them today.
Yes, ma'am.
Ah, there you are. I believe we have some things we should discuss.
Mhm.
Heroes were minted down at that spaceport, and that includes you.
You've got the Cabinet's full backing to prevent more attacks. Understand?
Ja, das erwarte ich auch nicht. Soll ich dich jetzt ansprechen?
Captain,
Ah.
Hadrian, it would appear that the Cabinet owes you our thanks for what you did for the city today, as well as an apology.
Mhm.
Your concerns about the Terrormorphs, well, consider them validated.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ich auch so, danke.
Of course. I only wish we could have acted sooner.
Ja.
Now, today's events have only clarified our path forward in the eyes of the Cabinet. You will have our full support in collecting the Terrormorph data from the archives, as well as a subsequent investigation into the nature of these attacks. But to accomplish those goals, we're going to need the right people in the right places. As such, the Cabinet has authorized me to reinstate you, Hadrian, effective immediately, to your former rank of Major. As soon as we've got the data in hand, we want you investigating these attacks and how to stop them. Will you do this?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. I'd be honored.
Excellent. But as you've both made clear, for such an investigation to succeed first, we're going to need someone to convince the Freestar Collective and House Varun to play ball. Someone who knows precisely the sorts of dangers the colonies and all the galaxy are facing right now. The Cabinet wants you, Captain, to be the
War klar.
representative.
Jetzt für die beste Entscheidung.
We do. In exchange, we're willing to fast-track your citizenship upon collection of the data.
Ihr habt es eigentlich drauf.
Will you help us?
Ja, da wollen wir nicht mehr 10 Jahre. Hier das Kabinett endlich enttäuschen
Glad
mehr.
to hear it. Now, we, of course, won't be sending you in without the proper support. Deputy McIntyre in the Office of Interstellar Affairs will be your guide on gaining access to the archives. You should be able to find her in her office across the hall. And on behalf of the whole of the United Colonies, you have our thanks. You're dismissed.
We're counting on you, Captain.
Damage to the spaceport.
Don't let my people
The
sacrifice
costs of
speed.
this
I'm
attack
gonna go
are
check
greater
in
than
with
I've